golden mic sounds really cool. I love it. I really do. But I want to make sure that when I say I have a golden mic, that I can help someone create a golden mic, that I can back this up. So I went and I pulled the list of the amount of money, amount of revenue, amount of clients that I have generated directly correlated to this microphone right here, directly correlated to my talk show. In an 18-month period, without a single ad, without a website, and without a funnel, directly from the people that I interviewed on my show or the referrals that they came over, guess how much money was generated?
Around 1.2 million.
Oh, you know that. $1.2 million, right? And I was like, okay, we have a golden microphone now.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Entrepreneurs Warrior Show. This is where we interview entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants who are expert in their niche. And guess what? In this amazing series today, we have one of the super awesome guests with us. And he is the host of Game of Influence podcast and a founder of Golden Mic Method. And in March 2023, like recently, he killed his identity as an internet marketer and become a wealth creator, which is really powerful thing. And his big why is to inspire others to break free, know truth, and become the best version of themselves so they fall in love with life and make the world a better place. And this person's journey is really inspiring and I am so much excited for this interview. So let's have Josh Forti on the stage.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. How are you?
I'm good and I hope I maintain the level of energy as you have. Hey everyone, thank you so much for started watching this particular interview. And I'm damn sure this interview is going to give you a lot of ideas, a lot of nuggets. And this interview shows you how you can build $1 million business with interview shoes. Yes, you are going to watch this interview and you are going to understand like how you can build a business of $1 million and $1 billion with the interview show. And this episode is must watch for you if you have an interview show or you're planning to start interview show or you want to grow your business, you want to build a business with the high profile clients, you want to build relationship with all the top notch people and you want to make them as your client. So this interview is must watch for you. You can watch this interview till the end, and if you are ready to launch an interview show, all you need to do is just drop interview in the chat box or in the comment section. And now just go and enjoy the interview with Josh Forti.
I do have a lot of energy, that is for sure. Yes, I like having a lot of energy. I've had it since I was a kid, but I also know that when it comes to leadership, when it comes to sales and marketing and things, that money follows energy, that momentum follows energy, that flow follows energy. So the higher the energy, the more that we can create momentum. So yes,
definitely so true, and so honored to have you on my show. And this episode is going to, guys, if you are watching, make sure you can take pen and paper with you. Right. So, Josh, what was the single greatest decision in your life that transformed everything for you? So, what is the one greatest decision of your life?
Oh gosh, I don't know if there's one single decision. I mean, in my whole entire life, it would have to be accepting Jesus as my savior. But I don't think that's the answer you're looking for. I think it's much more along the lines of entrepreneurship. So at the beginning of 2019, my brother died in a helicopter crash, and he was my older brother. And at the time I had an agency, and my entire identity was kind of wrapped up in just being an entrepreneur, right? That's just kind of like what I was, a marketer, an entrepreneur. My business partner and I think we were probably doing like 70,000, 80,000 a month, that month, the month that he died or so. And I ended up selling the company because when my brother passed away, he was my older brother, like I said. And when he passed away, it was like my entire identity of what I thought was important in life had been shattered, right? Because it was so sudden and it was so out of super duper unexpected, right? And I found out from my mom calling me and screaming, crying on the other end of the phone, right? And so what ended up happening is I ended up selling my company, putting all my money into a savings account and then traveling around the world. I took my wife, she's my wife now. At the time we weren't married, but she's my wife now. And we went around the world, and the kind of the whole purpose of that was just to kind of figure out what now, right? Now what? I'm a big believer that if you have a goal, if you have like your identity, your goal, the momentum, like you've got to know exactly where you're going in life, right? Because if you don't know where you're going in life, if you don't have like absolute clarity and you don't have absolute momentum, like this is where I'm going and this is what I'm doing, like everything in your life revolves around that. So if you don't have that, like everything needs to stop and you need to figure out that one thing, right? I'm a very big believer of that in my life, right? And so when that happened, it was like I lost all direction. And so everything stopped. And I went around the world and I was like, I've got to figure out who I am. I got to figure out what I'm doing. I got to figure out what this all means, right? Like, I don't even know, right? And so I was very lost. And so while we were overseas, my wife, we were in the Philippines. And what's funny is I am not a healthy eater so much. I'm much better now. I do a lot of like blood work testing and like taking vitamins and, stuff like that. But like, I don't like exploring different types of food, right? Like, that's not my thing. But my wife, on the other hand, she likes eating anything in the whole world, right? So we were over the Philippines and I ate McDonald's every day. And my wife would like try all the different foods over there. And while we were over there, my wife got sick with an intestinal eating parasite. And like she was so sick. Like I have never in my life seen someone this sick, like outside of the hospital, right? Like she couldn't sit up. She couldn't function. She couldn't walk. She could barely talk. Like she was like so ridiculously sick. And we're in like the middle of nowhere, right? Middle of absolutely nowhere. And so I ended up like draining basically all of my savings because like, I don't like if you're anything like me, dude, like you're not going to let money stop you from doing what needs to be done for the people that you care about. Right. And so it was like, you know what I mean? It's just like, okay, this is what we're doing. Right. And so I ended up with hospital bills and flights and ambulances and all the things. Right. It was like 40 grand, 40 or 50 grand probably of like, cause we had to have like first class international flights because she had to lay down. Like she was that sick. Like we had to have this special seat, right? And so I found myself going from, at the beginning of the year doing, 70,000 a month to basically like $8,000 left in my bank, in my bank account, living in the basement of my wife's mom's house, right? And my brother had just died and I had no business and I had no offer and I was broke basically, right? And I'm like, how did I get here? You know what I mean? You ever felt like that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? It's like, you're just like, I don't know if your listeners or you, like if you've ever had, you probably never had that exact moment, right? But like you've had those moments where you're just like, you're sitting there and you're like, what do I do? Right. And that was me, like lowest of lows, very, very lost. And so in that moment, when I looked around, I was like, okay, I know I need a coach, right? Every successful person I had, like that I know, they all swear by them. And so I went and I took every last penny that I had and I went and I hired a coach. I had, like I said, about $8 grand left in the business and I hired a $60,000 coach. So I didn't have the money at the time, right? I got on the phone with her and she told me what she would do and help me do. And I was like, I don't even know what you're selling me, but I know I need you, right? And so I put down the first payment of $5,000. And in that moment, like I thought the decision that I was making, like I thought what I was doing was I thought that I was paying someone to tell me what to do. And I thought I was going to pay someone. She was going to tell me what to do. She was going to show me how to do it. And I was going to do it. That's what I thought, right? But that's not what happened, okay? That's not really the decision that I had made, right? See, I was forced in the moment with the decision of I can either give up and quit, right? Or I can go and take the next step. And when I bought the coach, I get on the phone with her and I ask her what to do, right? Like, I'm like, what do I do? And keep in mind, I just signed a $60,000 contract. I put $5,000 down. I had $3 grand left. And it was like, okay, I got to make $5 grand in the next 30 days, right? And she tells me, Josh, I will never tell you what to do. I just paid you a ridiculous amount of money. Like, what do you mean you're not going to tell me what to do? Like, I am lost. I am broken here. You know those moments where you're like, did I just make a terrible mistake? Okay. She said, Josh, instead, I'm going to go through and teach you how to think, right? And if you change your thinking, it will change your life. Now, at the time, I thought she was insane, right? Because like, that first phone call, I spent 45 minutes going through and telling her everything that was wrong with my business, with my Facebook ads, with my funnel, with my, or not my ads, my business, my funnels, my offer, all the things, right? And when I got done with that, she's like, are you done? I'm like, yeah, I think so. And she goes, Josh Forti, who are you? Right? I'm like, what the frick? Like, what does this have to do with anything? Right? But like that moment of like, I had to make a decision right then to be like, okay, I am either all in on this. Like I am either all in right? Like do everything this woman tells me to do, or I don't know. Like I am broke for the rest of my life. I don't know, right? I don't even know what the other option was. Like it was just like I made that decision, right? And so I think that decision of hiring someone that was so different, right? Everybody else told me they were going to fix my funnels. Everyone else told me that they were gonna help me build a better offer or whatever. She was like, I'm going to teach you to think. I'm going to teach you how to be like me, right? I mean, how to be like you, like the person that you want to become, right? So I think that was probably the most powerful decision from a business and personal development perspective, because like that changed every part of who I was, and it allowed me to go and realize that like all of life, all of success is literally how you think about it, right? And so if you can change your thinking, you can change your results. And to kind of recap the story, bring it to a positive ending, right? Thankfully, my wife is okay, and we're happily married now, and we're about to have our first kid. But like 4 months later, I had my first $100,000 day. Crazy.
Definitely, it's
interesting story. And like you are talking about Katie Richardson, yes, she's on my show. And the thing that when it's a kind of do and die situation where you are, like either I want to go all in or either I can do nothing. It's a kind of do and die situation, and you win the game, and that's the reason whatever the things you have right now. That's quite powerful.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think that oftentimes, at least for me, and if you're anything like me, it's like we're entrepreneurs, right? You know what I mean? It's like, this is our life. And so we go and we're like, when do I actually get the best results? When do I actually get the best decisions, right? Or make best decisions? And like, here's the thing. I don't like stress. I don't like, being in a situation where everything's riding on it, right? But it's amazing what you can do when your back is against the wall, right? And I will tell you, I've never been in a situation that it was that bad since that point, right? Like it was quite like, wow, okay, like this could go very like, you know what I mean? Like this is not good, right? But I have found that when I want to go and I want to make a big decision, if I want to go and I want to get insane results on something, and think about this for a second, right? Like what is a decision? Do you know what the definition of decision is?
Yeah, I have to go there.
Okay, yeah. So it comes from I think it's the Latin root of to incision. It basically means to cut off, right? So a decision is not to add on something. A decision is to cut off or remove every other option, right?
Wow.
When it's like when I decided that I was going to marry my wife, right? I would decided that I was like, I'm not going to marry any other girl. I'm going to marry her. That was my decision for me, right? When I went through and whatever. So I have found though that if I try to make a decision where I am able to go and change that decision, I don't usually follow through. So when I actually learned this from Grant Cardone, right? When it comes to money, he's like, if you have a bunch of money sitting in your bank account, he's like, you will not be motivated and driven. So what I do is whenever I get money in my bank account, like I get rid of it. I go and I go invest it, right? I go and I either put it into the business or I buy Bitcoin or I put it in, my investment, because I want to see the balance of my bank as low as possible. So I'm driven, right? So whenever I'm going to go make a big decision on something, I just hired Dan Henry, right? $100,000. That's a lot of money. So like, what did I do? I, got it. I paid the thing. And then I got rid of all my money. And I was like, okay, I just paid him $100,000. My bank accounts are basically zero. Let's go, right? And guess what? Like 2 weeks later, I'd recoup basically my entire investment back in cash collected of sales because I was driven. I was motivated, right? So I think as entrepreneurs, we are fueled by our desire to get away from pain. At least I am. I don't know about you, but if we're anything like, right? It's I grew up with nothing in my eyes, right? Like we weren't like homeless or anything. Like I had a good childhood. I did, but like every decision was based off of lack of money, right? And so I was like, okay, I don't want to be that way, all right? I want to go and I want to have freedom and options and be able to go and do whatever I want, right? But then as soon as I would get that, I'd be like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna relax now, right? Right? So it's like, wait a second, hold up. If I want to keep going, there are seasons where you can go and there's seasons where I can say, okay, I'm gonna chill, right? Like coming up in December, we're gonna have our first kid. right? I'm going to take a month or two, right? I'm going to go and I'm going to relax for a little bit. I'm going to go and enjoy my wife and child, right? But like, then when it's time to, and guess what? I'm going to let some money come up in my bank account a little bit, right? But like, when it's go time, then you better believe that money's going to go. I'm going to put it back in, I'm going to go put it in and I'm going to go. Because like, I've got to put myself in a position to where when I make a decision, there is no other option. That's the decision. That's where we're going. Does that make sense?
Man, it's the biggest, like one of the great thing you just shared. And I after hosting like 75 plus and more interviews, I didn't get this kind of thing or thoughts from any of my guests. Like, I want to invest so I don't go and sit in comfort zone. That's something you really, like, I have to earn because I don't have money in my bank account. That's really powerful perspective to keep in the momentum, to just keep going there.
100%. And I'm not saying like, go spend all your money on cars and stuff. I'm like, no, put it to where you can't touch it. Put it to where you can't see it, right? So like, I basically invest my money in 3 places, right? And like, one of them is my business, right? Like, that is the period end of, outside of yourself, right? We're entrepreneurs, right? Like, outside of yourself is the very best investment that you'll ever make, right? Yes. Outside of yourself, though, your business is I learned this from my wealth coach, Brad Gabb, right? Your business is your number one investment. There is no higher ROI return than investing in your business. However, your business requires you, right? So we don't want to only invest in our business. So I invest there, right? And then I invest in Bitcoin because I love Bitcoin, right? I hold money in Bitcoin. And then third, I do anything that's going to like cash flowing investments, right? But I want to get them in places where I can't touch it, right? It's hard for me to access. I own it, but I don't want to be able to go and be like, oh, I had a bad month in business this month. Oh man, like I need an extra $5,000. Let me just go and like pull it out of my savings. No, because then you're not driven, right? Then you're not going to go and get the next sale. Then you're not going to go and, push yourself, right? Like I firmly believe we as entrepreneurs, right? Like our job, our DNA, right? You're an entrepreneur, right? I'm an entrepreneur. We're entrepreneurs. Yes. We're the same, right? Like your listeners, that's who we are, right? And it's like our job at a very, very core is what? It's we solve problems. That is what we do, right? And so like, if our job is to solve problems, it's like that's what we get paid to do, then like go solve problems. And if you've got money sitting over here that would allow you to take this money and not go solve problems, that's comfort. Now you're not being true to who you are, right? And so when it comes to business, when it comes to production, when it comes to producing, keep in mind, I live in a really nice house. I drive nice cars, right? Like my wife and I travel. I'm not, again, spending money on things. What I'm saying is if that thing is preventing you or allowing you to take your eye off the ball of where you're trying to get to and you're going, like that is not helping you. Make sense?
Yes, making sense.
Yeah.
That's literally makes sense what you are just mentioned. And all of these things like in the investment that you do in your business is something that can change the game for you. Like everything that like when it comes to tools, instruments, whatever the things required for your business, for your like marketing, like ads, sales funnel, and every kind of thing. That's literally powerful thing. And right now, like when I'm seeing your websites, when I'm seeing your podcast and all of these things, I love this one thing is the golden mic method.
Yeah.
Before we can go into this concept, what is the golden mic, and we can deep dive into. I love the name, the golden mic. So if you can share the context with us, like how did you come up with this beautiful? Like I love this name, like the golden mic method. Everybody have curiosity in their mind, like what is this method and how does it work? So I would love to know from you, like how you are coming up with the name and how this process is working.
Yeah, for sure. It's a great question. So the golden mic, having a golden mic is having a microphone that is worth its weight in gold, right? Very simply put, right? Yes. So like you have a talk show, right? Like you have the show. So you say I have a podcast. I don't actually think I have a podcast. I think I have a talk show. And I think you have a talk show. And the reason I say that is like, there's a lot of people out there that have podcasts where they like they share their own story or they share their tips or whatever, right? It's like, okay, whatever, right? But it's like a golden mic and a talk show, right? Like this is a microphone and a platform that like actually makes you money, right? Like you've built your business around this show, yes or no?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
100%. You, my friend, you have a talk show, right? And so a talk show with a golden mic, right? It's an interview style podcast, right? And it's designed to build your business, or what I like to say is like it is designed to either land you high ticket clients, right? Or land you high value relationships, right? One of the two, right? And so like that's the purpose of it. It doesn't exist for any other reason. I'm not here to entertain people, right?
Yeah.
I am not here to go through because I'm like, oh, I like to talk to a microphone. I mean, I do, but that's not why my show exists, right? Like I'm a business person. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm here to solve problems. And you know when I solve problems? Do you know when you solve problems? When you get paid. That's when you solve problems, right? Because we're not charities. So it's like if your podcast is a podcast, like it can be a charity. It can be, oh, I feel good. But when you have a talk show, when you have a golden mic, it's like, okay, we're here for one reason. We're here as entrepreneurs to go and build our businesses. We're here to bring in high ticket clients or high value relationships, right? And so how you asked how I came up with the name for it. It's actually funny. So I paid Dan Henry a buttload of money. And how this came about is for the last 2 years, I basically have been kind of behind the scenes, right? Like I've been kind of public on social, but not really compared to where I was, right? Think Different Theory, 2 years ago is at its peak, at its prime. My talk show, we were interviewing, people just like you were, are, and we had about 1.5 million downloads that we had done. And then Apple, like the people that make iPhones, right? They sued us for trademark infringement. They're like, hey, and technically it wasn't we didn't go to court over it, but they were like, hey, we're going to take you to court, right? Unless you shut this down, right? So like after that talk show kind of shut down, I started kind of going through and like really perfecting behind the scenes of like, okay, what was working, what's not, what are my sales processes look like? And I still did interviews with people, right? I just never published them. I would get on with people all the time and I would talk to them for an hour and a half and I would record these interviews, right? I just wouldn't be like, oh, welcome to Think Different Theory. I would just be like, hey, let's have a conversation. And so I still use the concept of this talk show to go and land clients and to build my network and to build relationships, right? And so about 6 months ago, I was like, okay, I feel called to come back on the scene, right? Like it's time for me to come back. I think we're at a weird point in the world, right? Where, I don't know how it is over in India, but over in America, it's pretty bad, getting pretty bad out there, right? Like there's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of strife. There's a lot of just uncertainty and unrest and people are mad at each other, right? And I believe it's like, okay, and now more than ever, it's like, we need entrepreneurs like you, entrepreneurs like me. Like we need our voices to like step up, to have leadership. And we need people that can solve real problems to step up and do this, right? Because like, dude, I hate like the system in America, the education system in America is screwed, right? We've been programmed. I don't know if you know who Rockefeller is. Like back in the day, he was one of the richest men in the world, right? And he said that the American education system is designed to create a nation of workers, not a nation of thinkers, right? Now, that's not a good thing, right? We need thinkers. We need people like you. We need people like me. We need people like your listeners, right? We need to think. And so I was like, okay, I feel called to come back. I feel called to like take something and go out there and like really make it like something that like empowers entrepreneurs to go and to build the relationships and the income that is needed to thrive. Right? So we can be powerful leaders. Because like webinars are great. I love them. And workshops are great. I love them. And sales calls and VS, these are all great things. But like, they're just kind of, everybody's got the thing and they don't kind of work that well. And it's just like, we need something that like allows the entrepreneur to be the powerful people that we are. Right? Yeah. And so I, about a month ago, I paid Dan Henry because I'm a big believer in coaches. I believe people should pay for coaches. I pay for coaches. And so I told Dan, I was like, hey, I'm too close to my own stuff. I need your help. And so he's like, okay. And so I paid him a buttload of money and I flew down to his place and he was like, what do you got? So I fly down to Costa Rica. I bring my wife with me and we go down there. He's got this, beautiful home down there. We fly in his helicopter down over the thing. And it was insane, right?
Yeah, I saw a lot of pictures. It
was so crazy, right? It was amazing. Yeah. It was a really, really cool experience, right? And I'm a big fan of Dan. He and I disagree on a lot of things for sure, but like Dan's someone who like, he always delivers right on what he says he's going to. I could not speak more highly of Dan. Very, very good, very, very, very good guy. And so we get down there and I started explaining to him my process. And it's so funny. Ready? I've never actually told anybody this yet, before or yet. He goes through and he's like, okay, we need to come up with a name for this. And I'm like, I know, that's why I'm here, bro. I need your help, right? And he's like, okay. So he pulls out his iPad, flips it up, and guess what he opens up? Chat GPT. and he goes, okay. So we start going and we start like punching in like, okay, it's like we got this show or, it's going to do this and all whatever book goes. And we probably iterate for like 45 minutes. And then all of a sudden it pops up and it's like, start a golden mic talk show. And I'm like, and Dan's like, we're like, oh, that's it. Right. Like it's that concept of the golden mic. So it's actually Chat GPT and Dan Henry that helped come up with the name. But as soon as it happened, something is very interesting is I was like, okay, golden mic sounds really cool. I love it. I really do. But we as marketers have a tendency that if something sounds good, we just run with it. You know what I'm saying? Without ever maybe backing it up. A lot of marketers can't back up their claims, right? So I ended up flying home and I was like, okay, I want to make sure that when I say I have a golden mic, that I can help someone create a golden mic, that I can back this up, right? So I went and I pulled the list of the amount of money, amount of revenue, amount of clients that I have generated directly correlated to this microphone right here, okay? Directly correlated to my talk show, okay? And in an 18-month period, without a single ad, without a website, and without a funnel, directly from the people that I interviewed on my show or the referrals that they came over, guess how much money was generated?
Around 1.2 million.
Oh, you know that. $1.2 million, right? Yeah. And I was like, okay, we have a golden microphone now, right? Like, think about that. Think about that for you, right? Think about that, like your listeners, think about that. Think about having a microphone that does that. Think about having a system that allows you to go and say, okay, this microphone isn't just about me feeling good on a podcast, right? It's not just me, going out there and like creating some content that looks good on Instagram. I'm not against these things, but like also I'm very for making $1.2 million, right? I'm very for helping you go out and change that. So the golden mic method is the method that when like Dan Henry and I actually went back and looked at what actually worked based in data, right? What actually allowed me to go and win. I got two comma clubs up there. Never ran an ad, right? No ads. That, you can't see them up there. Yeah, I'll have to go yes. But that was what the method was. It was the method that allowed for that to happen, and the method that allowed me to go out and build my brand in the business that way.
That's quite interesting and really amazing thing. And what you mentioned is like this podcast, this talk show is not just about like I'm doing interview, I'm talking with the people, not like it's a big business, and I personally build it. Like I have a coaching, I have done for you service around it. So that's not just I am doing podcast, I'm doing a business around it. And actually the big thing is I'm solving a problem of people. And when we solve a problem, Russell always say, the bigger the problem you solve, the big money you make.
Yeah. And it's interesting. One of the things that I found, and I'm happy to go into the method, as deep as you want or as not deep as you want. I don't care. But it's interesting. What I personally have found when it comes to talk shows is that when I tried or when I believed that my influence was over my listeners, I didn't make any money. Right? I had 1.5 million downloads on my first talk show. That's quite a few downloads. Guess what? I was making more money off of a 2,000 or 3,000 person email list that I was selling products to than I was trying to promote products to a podcast that got 1.5 million downloads, right? Because like it's the power is not in your listeners, right? The power, when I shifted my thinking, right? Right? Because I used to ask the question, how do I make money with my podcast? What do I have to say? What do I promote? How do I promote? Wrong. I was thinking about my show entirely wrong. This goes all the way back to the beginning of like, I had to become a new person. I had to shift my thinking, right? I thought like a wealthy person now, right? And I was like, wait a second, hold up. Do you know who Sam Ovens is?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so I was in his mastermind. And one of the things that he said, I'm for the sake of time, I'm going to just like recap the story. But he goes, Josh, do you know why amateurs have such a hard time making money? And I was like, why? And he goes, because amateurs focus on all the wrong things. They focus on the what, the why, the how, right? He's like, I don't do any of that. I focus on how my customers think. And I'm like, whoa, okay. So if I want high ticket buyers, if I want successful people, rich people, the Russell Brunsons of the world, if you will, right, to be my friends, how do I think like them? And so I asked him, I'm like, well, what do you know about high ticket buyers? Like, what do you know about successful people, right? And he's like, well, three things, by the way, three things you got to know about successful people, okay? Like people that have money, people that will pay you $25,000. Like I get $25,000. Like I just had a guy the other day, never met the guy before in my life, right? For very first phone call, on the phone call, he paid $25,000 in full, right? Why? Three things. Number one, these people buy from people that they know, like, and trust, right? They buy from their friends, right? Rich people are not sitting on webinars, right? They're not, right? I mean, some of them are sitting on 5-day challenges, right? Because they're good, but like they would sit on, Russell might sit on one from Myron Golden or something, but most of them are not sitting around scrolling Facebook going, oh, that was a good Facebook ad. Here's 25,000. They're not. They're buying from their friends. They're buying from their relationships. The second is exactly what you said, which is they buy to solve a problem. Okay. Most super successful people, most people with money say no to every opportunity, but they will almost never say no to having their problem solved. Okay. Write that down. Third is they make buying decisions very quickly. They do, right? And so Sam Ovens is a perfect example of this, right? Sam Ovens went out there and he FaceTime. He was over in New Zealand or whatever, and he bought a penthouse in New York. He bought it over FaceTime. The agent FaceTimed him, showed him the apartment or whatever it was, the penthouse. It was like $5 million. And he's like, sounds good, buy it. $5 million over FaceTime. What? Right? Or whatever it was. So as soon as I realized these three things, okay, they buy from people they like. How do I get them to like me? They buy to solve a problem. What problem do I solve? They buy quickly. I'm like, wait a second. Okay, well, where do I talk to these people? Where can I get in front of these people? And I'm like, wait a second. My talk show has nothing to do with my listeners. My talk show has everything to do with the people I'm interviewing, right? And then all of a sudden, my whole brain shifted. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to start getting intentional about the people that I would interview, right? Because like my first 40 or 50 interviews on my talk show, I didn't make any money. None. I lost money on every episode, right? But as soon as I shifted and I was like, okay, wait, how do I interview people that either A, have my client, or like are my clients, or B, can get me in front of my clients? How do I build a relationship with them? How do we connect on values, right? How do we go through and like, And then afterwards, I could follow up with them and show them I could solve their problem. I started doing that. Everything changed. That's a golden mic. That is shifting your thinking, right? Yeah.
Whatever you said just now, like the first thing is really powerful and really important. Like 2 years ago when I started my podcast, I have this one thing in my mind that I have to build relationship with all of those people. Actually, the idea of starting interview show is trigger in my mind in 2020, September. But I didn't take any kind of action. But yes, I got from Russell Brunson, the .com secret, being a reporter. And this is triggered in my mind, like I have to do this. And then I started. And yes, what you mentioned is building relationship, not just building relationship. I got opportunity to solve them. And that's how the big business is there. That's
where the big business is. And dude,
yeah.
you got to stop. You don't have a podcast, man.
Yeah.
You're a talk show host. That is who you are now, right? Because like that's who gets paid, right? It's like there's a bajillion broke podcasters out there, right? There's are. But when you shift that thinking, when you shift that identity and you go, wait a second, hold up. My show first is a place that my ideal relationships and customers want to be on, right? Dude, I watched your intro. You had some big names on the show. That's epic. You had Katie on here. That was my coach, right? She's amazing. She was the woman that changed my whole thinking, right? Like these are people that charge lots of money. These are people these are big names. Why? Because you have created a place where people actually are willing and want to come on, right? So that's first. And then second, you go, okay, I've created this place. Now you are powerful, right? You have the ability to solve the problems. You are someone that can connect with these people. And most people stop there. Most people, they get in their own head, right? This was me. I would get in my own head. I will never forget Katie. I was working with her. And at the time, like when I first started working with Katie, dude, I did not know Russell Brunson. Like Russell and I did not have a relationship. He to me was like this, like, oh, right? Like if I could ever meet Russell, if we could ever be friends, oh my gosh, right? This would be amazing. And I remember talking to Katie one day and telling her, I'm like, I want to try to dream 100M or this, blah, 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 blah. And she looks at me and she goes, why? And I'm like, what do you mean why? Like he would change my life. Or she goes, Josh, you're acting like Russell Brunson is above you. Why not just be someone that Russell Brunson wants to be friends with? Why not stop chasing him and have him chase you? And I'm like, can I do that? Like, is that a thing? I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't even know. I like didn't even know that that was a thing, right? Like, I didn't even realize that I was like, oh, wait, I can be a powerful person? Wait, like if I show up a certain way, like he's going to come after me? I didn't believe it. I didn't, right? But then like, she was like, Josh, that's because you're focusing on Russell. Stop focusing on Russell. Focus on you. How do you become powerful? How do you become a man that can solve problems? How do you become someone that a type of person like Russell Brunson wants to become friends with, wants to do business with, wants to partner with? How do you become that person, right? And I'm like, I don't know, right? So I was like, I don't know. How do I do that, right? And so we go through and we just start focusing on how I can be like my certainty, my values, my power, right? And I create the show where the show went from me being like, I'm this kid interviewing these successful people to no. I am a powerful host that is having conversations with people that I am worthy of having relationships with, that want to have relationships with me, that I can solve their problems, that, ready for this, that their life becomes better by having a relationship with me, right?
Yes.
When I shifted that and that became my focus, something very interesting happened. You know what happened?
Yes, please. I want to.
Russell Brunson reached out and was like, hey, I want to come on your show. And I'm like, yeah, you can come up a show. That's cool, man. Right? And so we ended up I flew out to Boise. I flew out to ClickFunnels headquarters. We sat down for 3.5 hours and we did a 3.5 hour interview on a book called Atlas Shrugged. Dude, he reached out to me. I never reached out to Russell. I didn't ask him to be on my show. He's been on my show multiple times, right? Why? Because I became someone that was worthy of, and like people of that caliber wanted to be have a relationship with. They wanted to do business with. And here's the thing, ready? You can do the same. And every one of your listeners right now could do the same, because it has nothing to do with your backstory. It has nothing to do with your past. It has nothing to do with, it really doesn't even have anything to do with your results. What's crazy enough. I mean, like results do matter, right? But it's not about the thing. Russell can go buy any results that he wants. He can buy the best Facebook ad people. He can buy the best talk show host interview. He could go and buy his way on a Joe Rogan's podcast if he wanted to, right? That's not what he's buying, right? He's buying you. And so when you become that person, when you stop seeing yourself as I do a podcast or I'm just a guy who builds funnels. No, you are a powerful human being. You are a talk show host. You are somebody that is out there that is creating an environment that your ideal customer, that your ideal relationship wants to come on. And when they get there, they relate with you so much that they go, wait a second. I want to be friends with that guy. I want to be friends with that woman. I want to partner with them. I want to do business with them. You get to do that. You get to be that person, and that will happen. And I'm living proof of that, because not only did Russell come on my show multiple times, then he put me on stage in front of 6,000 people at FHL.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, I'm all fired up now.
Another bulb on, mic drop things you are sharing right now, right there. And what you mentioned is totally makes sense, because my talk show is not just my talk show. This is where people wants to build relationship. People wants to do, because I'm not just a podcaster. I'm a powerful podcaster who is hosting interviews with the people who is already on top. And if the podcasters who is hosting interviews can understand this one thing, I'm teaching the same thing to my clients. I'm sharing the same thing with my done for you clients, the podcast services that I offer. And if they understand this one thing, that can change the game for them.
Yep. 100%, dude.
It's already, you are already making it. And that's the real life example is we have. So when you decided to reach out to Dream 100 Russell Brunson, it took you around 3 years to put around 3 years of effort to build a relationship, to network with him, to do Dream 100 with him. So in this time period, like what kind of things you did? Like you consistently be in front of him with the help of messages, emails, or you send them a gift, or what exactly steps you did to actually get the attention of Russell Brunson?
Yeah, so it's interesting. It did take about 3 years. It took 3 years because like I didn't know what I was doing, right?
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
But like it wouldn't have taken that long if I was a little bit more strategic. We did not have very many messages back and forth for like the first 2 years. I would say like from the time Russell and I first started interacting to the time where we actually like became friends and he had me on that interview with Atlas Shrugged was maybe like 6 or 7 months. So for the first like 2 years, it was like nothing. But what I did was, you know how in sales there's that concept of like someone's got to hear from you like 8 times before they make a sale, right? So like I knew that Russell Brunson was like the top dog, right? He was the guy. Like I'm like, if I get Brunson, every other domino falls, right? Russell talks about the big domino effect, right? Russell was the big domino, right? Like you build a relationship with that dude, game over. Doesn't matter. Like you got anybody you want, right? In that industry.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go with you. I'm gonna take you back to how to think here for a second, right? Everybody else was asking, how do I do it? What do I do? How do I do it? What do I do? Okay. So I'm sitting here going, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, how do I think differently about this? How do I think different? How do I think different, right? And I go, every other human that I was watching try to impress Russell, what were they trying to impress Russell with?
With the funnels, marketing, and all of this kind of
Right.
Yeah.
If I got a good funnel, right?
Yeah.
They're like they were trying to impress Russell by being the best at the thing that he taught. When you do that, who is your competition?
He's already on top in funnels and
Right. Every other funnel builder in the world is like Alex Hormozy would be my competition at that point. Right? Brandon Caleb Poulin would be my competition at that point. Right? Peng Jun's my competition at that point. Like, I don't think I'm going to beat those guys. Right? So I can't win if I'm going to be I don't want to play a game if I don't know I can win. And so I'm like, okay, how do I approach this from a completely different angle? Well, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, in every piece that I've ever studied about like the highest level people, it's like there's that famous saying, your net worth is determined by your network, right? Your network determines your net worth, right?
yeah.
People at that level buy relationships. We know this, right? And so I was like, okay, I don't need to impress Russell in business. I need a relationship with Russell,
Yes.
right? Now listen, every other person, not every other, but a lot of other people that I know that are trying to get in front of Russell, they're like, if I could get in front of Russell, if I could pitch Russell, if I could do Russell, and I'm like, that is why you'll never get in front of Russell, right? I'm like, because you want something from him. I didn't want anything from Russell. I wanted a relationship with him, right? I've never asked Russell for anything and I never will. Why? Because it's not about what I can get from him. It's about the relationship. It's how I can help him. It's how I can further his mission, right? Because the relationship matters. And so I was like, well, let me take a different approach to this for a second. What else do I know about Russell? And I know that he is a family man.
Yeah.
I know that Russell values religion. He's Mormon. And I'm like, I grew up with 8 kids in my family. Interesting. Wait a second. He's Mormon. I'm not Mormon, but I'm very religious, right?
Yeah.
So I was like watching all these people sending Russell gifts about business and watching him send gifts about all these other things. And I'm like, what if I connected with him over Mormonism? What if I connected with him in his personal life? What if I connected with him over wrestling? What if I connected with him over something else? And so I actually went, and the very first thing that I did was, the first thing that I did is I went and I would go to all of his events. That's important, right? I was in his programs. I was in his stuff, like, there. I learned his language. I was in his people. I was doing what he said. I started a show. Like, he was like, start a show. I'm like, all right, start a show. Here we go. All right. But then I went to an event and I saw Russell in the hallway. It was him and Dave. Rest in peace, Dave. And they were walking to the elevator. And like, this was my shot. Like, I was like, I got one shot to go talk to Russell. And what does everybody do when they go up and meet the celebrity person or the Russells of the world?
Like a fanboy.
Russell, can I get a picture? Can I get a picture? Russell, can I do? Oh, Russell, you changed your life. Russell, da, 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 da. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so boring, right? So what do? I run up to Russell, and I was like, Russell, quick question for you. I don't have anything to pitch you. That's how I opened up, right? I don't have anything to pitch you, right? But question for you. What is something that you're interested in? Like, what is something that you like?
Wow.
And the elevator doors open, and he and Dave get on the elevator, and I'm not allowed to get on. They're like, right? And he sits there and he goes, old books. And then I'm not even kidding you. The elevator doors go ding, bong. And like, that was it. That was the end of the conversation. And I'm like, okay, I just got the piece of information and the data that I needed, right? I approach this very differently. I'm thinking about this differently. And so I go, out of all the categories I know, I got books about, I could do, wrestling, family, Mormonism. I'm like, well, guess what? One of those has old books. Mormonism, right? Like, it's religion. So I went on eBay and I literally found the oldest copy of the Book of Mormon that I could afford, right? And I bought it. And it was a pretty penny. But then I went and I sent it to him. And I wrote him a thank you note for everything that he had done, handwritten, read the whole thing. I sent it over to him. And that was the first time he ever put me on his Instagram story. He opened it up, he showed the note, he did a thing, this is so cool, da da da. He sent me a message on Instagram and was like, hey, thanks so much, da da da, right? And I was like, oh, okay, there's step one. And so, like, when you think about Dream 100ing people, when you think about like building relationships with people, right? You've got to approach it differently. And the beautiful thing about having a talk show, the beautiful thing about having a golden mic, the beautiful thing about having a place where these people are willing and want to come talk to you is you can get the data you need from them. You can get the information that you need from them, not to manipulate them or to pitch them something, but to understand what problems that they have so that you can go solve them, or that you can go and build the relationship with them. Now, sometimes you do pitch them. I pitched many a big time influencer. Look at Brad, right? I've pitched Brad many times. We've made millions of dollars together, and I think Brad's probably paid me $300,000, right? That's a lot of money. One client, $300,000. I've had him on my show multiple times, right? In Brad's case, Brad wanted to spend money to get his problem solved. But the beautiful thing about having a show is that you go and you get to build a relationship with these people. You can ask them the questions you need to ask to understand how they think, to understand how you can connect with them. That's how I got Russell Brunson's attention.
Another interesting fact and another mic drop. Like mic drop things and thoughts you just share on this. And on this conversation, I can go on and on and on because this is something I love the most. The interviews, the podcast, and whatever you share is totally makes sense. It's not just like, and the way you build relationship with the Russell Brunson is another like super powerful. Like most of the time, even when I started my own journey 3 years ago, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do the same thing as others are doing. But after learning the process from my mentors, after learning the things from actually implementing the system, I understand that this is something I have to do in a different way. And that's where I'm able to make it possible. That's really powerful thing. And whatever you mention is totally makes sense.
I appreciate it.
Yes. Awesome. So Josh, thank you so much for being here and sharing a lot of golden insights, golden nuggets about the golden mic. I really loved it. That was good. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Dude, you asked really good questions. It was a really fun show. You had a really good flow to it. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to have you. After a long time, finally we got you on this show.
I know. It's been crazy for a while there. I apologize. I'm glad you kept following up.
No worries. I totally understand the thing. But the honor is all mine that I'm able to host interview with you. And it's really awesome thing. So before we wrap up this show, if you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
For business?
Yeah, for entrepreneurship, for mindset, whatever.
Man, that's a good question. I think I would say that the immediate people that you choose to surround yourself with will determine not only the money that you make and the success that you have, but the type of it. And that you should choose your mentors and you should choose the people that you build relationships with very, very carefully. But that needs to be the focus, because that's, really what this came back to. It's like, it's no secret that I'm not a fan of the college education system. It's no secret that I'm not a fan of, of traditional systems of things. But it's because, like, the highest ROI things that I've ever done, and not just monetarily, in life, have been the relationships that I've built with high-level people. And I think my number one piece of advice would be to pick those mentors very, very carefully, but make sure that you pick them. And then the second follow-up piece of advice to that, because I know younger Josh, and I know younger Josh wanted to make lots and lots of money, and was like, what's the best way to do that? And so, like, I'm an entrepreneur, dude. You and I, like, we get it, right? It's like, let me talk to what we really want right here. That's the wisdom. That's the wise man wisdom advice. But, like, the tactical advice is, like, find a problem that people need solved and are willing to pay a ridiculous amount of money for, and then just go solve that problem and get in front of them using a talk show. That is the thing that will make you the most amount of money in the fastest possible way, period, end of story. You don't need complicated funnels or websites or Facebook ads or big, massive sales teams or processes or some hack on the internet or some viral piece of content. Literally none of it matters. Find a problem, go interview the people that have the problem, and go charge them lots of money to go solve it, right? Like, that's the answer, right? So that would be my more tactical piece of advice, is just, like, do that. But the more wise piece of advice would be to choose your mentors very carefully, but make sure that you get them. Yeah.
Appreciate you for sharing, Josh.
Yeah.
Again, thank you so much for being here. And where do people can find you, connect with you?
Social media, Josh Forti, at Josh Forti on Instagram, at Real Josh Forti on Facebook, or joshforti.com. Yeah, all the socials. I'm sure you'll link them. Yeah.
So I'll drop all the links in the show notes, in the chat box as well. Go and follow Josh and share your biggest takeaway in the what is the one thing that you learned, and at the same time you are going to implement from this particular interview. Share in the chat box with me, or share your biggest love with Josh for being here. Thank you so much, Josh, once again. Till then, Nilesh signing off from the Entrepreneur's Warrior Show. Bye-bye. Yes. I hope, Josh, you enjoyed this episode. I hope you love this.
Dude, it was really fun. It was a blast.
Yes,
I appreciate you having me on, man.
Yes. And is there anything I can help you with?
We have a 5-day challenge coming up with Dan Henry. When that comes out, if you want to, like, do a shout out on it or something like that, that'd be helpful. If not, no problem.
Definitely I can.
Yeah. That'll be out in October. So yeah, that. But other than that, just keep interviewing cool people. Tell everybody that you know to go start their shock shows, because that's you get it. You understand the power of it. So yeah.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, man.
Thank you so much for watching this interview till this point. If you're watching till now, it shows that you are committed for your growth, for your learning, for your self-improvement. And I hope you got a lot of ideas related to Golden Mile, how you can build relationship, how you can build a business with the interview show, how Josh Forti built a business of $1.2 million with an interview show. That's what he shared. And I hope you got a lot of inspiration ideas. If you are now thinking or still have overthinking in your mind that you want to start but have no idea, not clarity, a lot of doubts, I'm there for you. I'm happy to help you. I'm happy to support you in your journey. All you need to do is just drop interview in the comment section, or you can directly reach out to me with the word #interview, so we can proceed further. How can understand how can I help you and where can I help you. Thank you so much once again for being here. Till then, Nilesh signing off. Have a great day.